heavily criticized for saying she would do away with the education department. A lot of people are very, very much in agreement with her. You're not going to be specific for us?
Well, I think you look at all of them.
Well,
I mean, you look at all of them and you ask yourself, are they?
You had your priorities. How would you rank it from the worst to the?
You got a Democrat candidate.
I know,
I think
I'm
that-
putting the pressure on.
I think that
Not
Proof's in
making
the
it
pudding,
easy.
buddy.
I think that almost every single agency that we have, starting with the EPA on down, if you want to prioritize the agencies that are not, in my opinion,
Not
doing
constitutional.
what, are not doing what the Constitution asks them to do, I would say almost down the line, almost every agency is out of line. And I think that we have to look at every single one.
Would you go after the EPA first?
Well, they're doing that bang up job with the BP oil spill, aren't they? You know what I'm saying? They're not, and there's another example. That's the one job that we did give the government to do. You expect the government to handle a crisis. What are they doing right now? They're not handling our crisis on the border, which is their mandate. And they're not handling this crisis with the oil spill, which most people would say that is within their mandate to do. But they want to increase. You talked about the Department of Education. Let me give you an example. I've got 2 school districts that were in my district, in District 30. The Vail School District and Tucson Unified School District, right next to each other. Both of them have problems. One has a problem that they're teaching this crazy Rasa Studies program in the schools, and all the parents want to take their kids out of that school district. The other school district, Vail, has the problem that they're sending all their kids to Vail, and they don't have enough capacity in their building to fit all the kids that they're getting. And yet you have a Department of Education right now that has the same solution for everybody, including here and on the border region. That doesn't make any sense. Why can't we give that, empower the states? We would be better off if we sent the money that's going to a lot of these government agencies directly to the states, or at least back to the people. And you could decide in your own local legislature, is that something that you want to do, or you want to fund or not? I think that they're not living up to their mandate under the Constitution. I don't think, again and again, you look at almost any of these agencies, I don't think they're living up to the Constitution. Yes, sir?
3 things. Didn't the Department of Energy, wasn't it formed under Carter to get
Yes.
us off of foreign oil? And how big is that department now? So I mean, that's
It's 43,000 people in the Department.
43,000 people in the Department of Energy, and they were supposed to get us off of foreign oil 30 years ago. Was there a recently a state law or something to stop that teaching of La Raza studies in the
Yep.
state of Arizona?
I originally sponsored it.
When does that take effect?
It took effect 90 days after the end of the session, so it should be
Should be in effect now.
in effect.
But it's being appealed.
Now we get back to those judges I was talking about.
Yeah, so, but, and then my third thing, I have a question, maybe you can answer it. With SB 1070, if that law has a chance to go into effect, I feel it would do some good. I feel that there wouldn't be any profiling, because there's so many people would be watching. If an officer stepped out of line and profiled anybody, it'd be a test case the first day. So I don't think there would be, and I think if the law had a chance to go into effect, after the first couple of weeks, the amount of good that it would do would be publicity, and it would expand, and I think the controversy against it would stop. My question is, since it looks like the Justice Department, Eric Holder, is going to file suit against the state of Arizona, will they be able to file an injunction or stop that law from even having a chance to
Potentially,
start?
absolutely. They can,
So they could stop
if they
it.
find a willing judge and a court, they absolutely can. And that's the, you know, we've been down this road so many times in our own state. We've been in lawsuits with the federal government before on funding English language learners, which are basically the sons and daughters of illegal immigrants. We've had to fund those schools in the Flores decision. We've been battling them every single step of the way. And we have an attorney general right now in our state that basically has not done a very good job of defending the state in all these lawsuits. It's interesting you bring up the racial profiling part of this law, because it's specifically, the only mention of racial profiling in the entire bill
Is that you can't do it.
is you can't do it. Absolutely. And that's why I voted for it. And you'll hear from a lot of people, they say, well, we support 1070. I actually voted for it. When I talked to you earlier about how do we know that we can believe what you're saying, because you can look at some of the things that I've already done. It gives you a pretty good idea how I would vote if I were in Congress.
So what's your gut feeling on it? Is it, do you think the law may have a chance to actually go into effect for even a short
I
period of time?
absolutely do.
Or do you think it'll be blocked with an injunction?
Well,
There's no way to know. but
okay,
it's-
I think it will be blocked by an injunction, and I think it will ultimately go through. That's what I think. I mean,
I heard it's a pretty well-written law.
depending which court it eventually goes through. I mean, we're in the Ninth Circuit area. I don't know if that's the appellate court division will go through, or if it's filed in Washington D.C. If they were smart and they wanted to give it hurdles, they'd probably file a suit here.
Probably shopping it. You're looking around.
They have to read it first, though,
Political
so.
thing.
They haven't read it, so.
I would be interested in your thoughts on the seeming reversal of our country's stance as far as the relationship with Israel and what your opinion would be of what we should be doing.
Awesome question, awesome question. We have a bill that went through the legislature called the Iran Divestment Act. And what it said is that if you are an oil company, and all oil companies in the United States are prohibited from doing business with Iran. And if you do business with Iran, but you're not a U.S. company, like Shell Oil, for example, you can do whatever you want, but you can still set up shop here in the United States. What we did is I introduced a bill that says we're not going to invest our pension funds in Iran because, first of all, they want to wipe Israel off the map, but secondly, and this is extremely important to me, I was in Iraq. We saw these large copper bowls again and again they're called EFPs, explosive force projectiles. It sends a molten copper slug through an M1A1 Abrams tank and completely destroys it. They have Farsi written on the side. They were made and manufactured in Iran. When they tell you that the Iranians are not trying to kill our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines in Iraq, they're dead now. They're doing it. And so that was one of the very first bills. When I got back from Iraq, I sponsored that bill because I have seen too many people cave before some of these groups that are trying to support the Iranian government. And I don't believe it. And I think, and as to Israel, I think that, look, they're at least sticking by us on the war on terror. I don't see these other countries doing that. I don't see these other countries, they're the ones that are taking, here's a great example of why I feel the way. People say that if you just stop supporting Israel, if you just stop doing that, they would leave us alone. We had a terrorist in Iraq who told me that, I asked him the question, I said, what would you do? What's your goal at the end of the day? What do you want to accomplish? He said, we want to kill as many Americans as we can. We want you to see it on your television sets at night, and we want you to stop your support of Israel and get out of the Middle East.
It worked in Vietnam.
So I asked him, I said, well, what's your goal? What do you do after that? If you accomplish all that, what are you going to do? He said, where are you from? I said, Arizona. He said, then we'll go to your country, we'll kill as many Americans as we can in California, New York, and Arizona. The fundamental difference with Vietnam is after the Vietnamese kicked us out of their country, they didn't want to come back to the United States and spread communism. They just wanted us to leave them alone.
No, what I meant was it worked by getting it on the news. Once it got to
Oh,
where
yeah,
they're showing
absolutely.
once it worked to where they're showing body counts of U.S. troops killed in Vietnam, it was on the news every night. That was it.
That was it.
Publicity launched the war. And that's, the terrorists had seen that worked then in the 60s, and they're trying to repeat it now, and it will work if they can.
And when in the height of when it worked the best was during the Tet Offensive, which was actually a losing battle for the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese. They were actually losing at that point, but the videos that people saw in the United States, that's what killed the war.
Right.
So, other questions?
Yeah, we were talking before about the various federal agencies, you know, the incompetence, the malfeasance, the ineptness, but there's also an authority that transforms their original mandate and has mutated themselves to a point where they're like an independent government within the government, creating all sorts of turmoil in American business. And we're looking for jobs, we're looking for an economy